All right, welcome back to Etc. Hosted by myself, Jonah Jundu, and Grant. Today we're joined by Coach Jay. It's been a long time coming to get him on today. We've been talking about it for a couple months, but glad to finally have him on today.
Yeah, we've known Coach Jay quite a while since our freshman year. He was our freshman baseball coach at PR. So, Coach, you just kind of want to introduce yourself and kind of just explain how you're connected to PR, even just beyond like coaching too.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you for having me. Like Jonah said, we've been trying to cook this up for a while, so it's awesome that we can finally get it done. I have been coaching baseball for 4 years now at the school, which is how I know Jonah and Grant. Seeing them grow up as seniors now and doing this 4 years later is pretty cool. But also a supervisor in the building for the study halls and commons, which allows me to be in the building and then after school also doing baseball. So it's awesome that we have that time together.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna get right into it. Obviously, Jonah and I are in high school. High school is a pretty, important and special part of, people's lives. It's something they look back and remember. You kind of want to just talk to us about maybe what was your high school experience like, when you were in our shoes and kind of, any memorable experiences from that time of your life?
Yeah, high school was a lot different. It was the same, but in the same aspect, very, very different. Social media was just starting to kind of blow up at that time when I was a senior. The first program of Snapchat just started coming out. Twitter just started kind of blowing up. But the biggest thing was Facebook at the time. So if you can imagine how different that is as you guys are growing up and, everything is on social media now. It was a lot of like socialization, it was a lot of person to person contacts. But yeah, free periods were very different. You guys have the ability to leave during your free periods, which I think is awesome. Back in the day, we had to sit in the cafeteria or the library. So you were in school all day. I think that kind of helps you guys go through your process of the day going by a little bit faster. But I played baseball all 4 years and then obviously played at MCC after. But, high school 10 years ago, it's different. I wish I would have done a little bit more. I wish I would have partaken in a lot more activities. At the time, you're just kind of getting by. You're trying to fit in to the social crowds. And
yeah.
I wish I went to a couple more football games, things like that I think would have left a more lasting memory. But high school was fun. It was a good time. Made a lot of friends, loved playing sports, and the teachers that I had were amazing, and they left an amazing impact on me to where it's honestly made me come back.
Yeah. Were you guys allowed to use your phones during school, or did you have to have them like shut off the whole time?
We were able to use our phones, but it was a little bit different to where we weren't allowed to have them. I'm almost positive we weren't allowed to have them in class, obviously. But for the most part, the commons, the study halls, etc., everything was the same.
Okay. You were in the military. That was a pretty big part of your life as well. I just kind of want to know, like, what made you want to go into the military? Like, what inspired you to take that big step?
Yeah, that was pretty huge. I didn't really know anything about the military. Like I said, I was going to MCC at the time. I had no direction. What they say, like, do your gen eds, you'll figure it out. You'll hit a point where you're like, okay, this is what I want to do. Well, I never really felt like I hit that point where I was like, this is what I want to do. This is the degree I want to pursue. This is what's going to make me happy. So my best friend, excuse me, ended up joining the Marine Corps, and he came back looking like a different person. The way he carried himself, the way he talked, the way he, the respect that he was getting. And when you see that in a different light, you're kind of drawn to it. You're kind of attracted to that sense of belonging, being a part of something bigger than yourself. And so I just went to a recruiter with him and just kind of talked for like 30 minutes, and I was kind of sold. He talked about competition, being the best and being the best branch, and school, and if school's not for you now, it may be for you later, which is something that we found out, that school wasn't for me then. So if I wasn't going to pursue school, what can I pursue that's going to put me in a step in the right direction? And the military did that.
Yeah.
Like, was it hard for you at the time? Like, did you struggle with that decision, or was it like an easy thing? Were you like, I don't know, because I guess like one of our next questions is like the hardest thing you had to do. But I guess before you got to that point, like, was it hard like to leave? I guess. I guess that's the.
Yeah, it was a hard commitment
hard to leave, and then like, did it get easier? Did it get harder? Obviously, it was difficult. No one's doubting that. But I guess just like, did you find it difficult to make that decision?
Yes and no. It's a commitment. You're signing your life away for 4 years. It's not where you go to school, and if school's not for you, you kind of can drop out, or you can kind of take a pause, right? Like you're signing up for 4 years, and that's it. And there's no going back. So, committing to that is a hard thing to grasp, but at the same time, you're so excited about it, and your kind of adrenaline's going, and you're really excited about traveling, or a new job, or new experiences, the uniforms. Like, you have to get through boot camp first, which is really hard, but committing to it is challenging. And luckily I had pretty good support. My parents were like, really? You're joining the military, like the Marine Corps? If that's what you want to do, you do it. We're not going to like shy you away from that. And I know a lot of families or parents would be, obviously hesitant about sending their kids to the military. It's not the safest profession, but at the same time, I think they also knew that I needed it at the time. So yes, it was hard making that decision, but once you commit to it, that kind of eases your mind.
So obviously the Marines is known for being an extremely, tough thing to be a part of. It's not just, a job where you can just show up and kind of, go through the motions. It's extremely difficult. So do you have any stories that stand out of like a specific drill, or just something you had to go through that was extremely tough? And like in the moment you were like, there's no way I'm going to be able to get through this, but you were able to, and kind of how that kind of maybe improved you as a person, made you stronger overall.
Yeah, I think our boot camp, honestly, you are stepping into a whole new world. Honestly, it's like this secluded life that like you wouldn't even know existed unless you showed up there. And it's 13 weeks. So it's not just like a 2-week vacation. I mean, it's 13 weeks. It's hardcore. It's 5 a.m., 9 p.m. every day. And it's on you. You got people yelling at you every day. You have to shave every day. You have 10 seconds to shave. You have 10 seconds to brush your teeth. You have 45 seconds to eat some of your meals. So it's a culture shock. You get hit into like a new realm, and you're laying in bed sometimes and you're just like, man, I don't know if I'm going to make it. I don't know if I'm going to, be able to wake up tomorrow morning and do exactly what I did today, because I gave 100% today. How am I supposed to give 100% tomorrow? But they hold you accountable, and they push you past that breaking point. And they, the crazy thing is they break you down. You feel like you're at your lowest. And then all of a sudden, you don't believe it's going to happen. And then all of a sudden you start accomplishing things that you never thought you could accomplish. And then all of a sudden you're waking up the next morning and you're like, okay, I'm going to do something cool today. I'm going to go to the rifle range and shoot perfect or expert, or I'm going to go do the confidence course and overcome my fear of heights. And, at the end goal, you're always trying to become that Marine. We, something that was really, hard was that Hell Week. It's 72 hours, 3 straight days of grueling activities. You have a team, you have a squad, you're getting no sleep, maybe an hour or two of sleep a night. And everything you're doing is the same stuff you did throughout boot camp, but in a condensed time. So everything you're doing is 20 hours a day, hiking, low crawling, doing the obstacle courses, everything. You're not eating, you're not sleeping. But once you finish that final hike, because there's a final hike before you get your official Eagle, Globe, and Anchor, which signifies that you are now officially a Marine. you have to hike what this called is a reaper. It's like an 8-mile hike, and the final steps up to the flat hill is about like a 90-degree angle. So it's basically straight up in the air, and you just got to push through. But once you get to the top, I mean, everyone's crying, everyone's tearing up. You know, you get that sense of relief, and then you get your equilibrium anchor, and then more people are crying because then you got to go back down. So,
All right.
yeah,
So
they hold you accountable, and it's like you said. So I don't mean to go on a tangent, but boot camp definitely one of the hardest things you've had to go through, and the 10-month deployment was one of the hardest things you have to go through as well.
Yeah. So like obviously that I think that creates discipline like nothing else. Like there's no, from the sounds of that, there's nothing you can replicate to nothing else is gonna keep you disciplined like that. But so outside of that, is there any like one thing or maybe boot camp as a whole that like maybe changed your outlook? Like did you get to a point where maybe you were like, okay, this was worth it, this was the right decision, or maybe helped you push you in the opposite direction and helped you find another passion? Like was there anything that really like changed your perspective?
Yeah, I wouldn't even say boot camp really changed my perspective. I think boot camp changed me as a person in a sense of having that discipline. But I think what really changed me was going on that 10.5-month deployment, and, you know, being away from family and friends, and being, you know, having to rely on people that I've only known for 3 months in the hardest times. And I remember we were volunteering in Romania to build orphanages, schools. So we're building classrooms, and we're, you know, putting these desks together, and these kids are so grateful, and they can't speak English, but you could see it in their eyes that there's like hope there. You know, these kids are sleeping in dirt. These kids are sleeping on the floor, and now we're building them schools. And, you know, I saw just like that hope in their eyes the one time, and I was just like, man, that was special. You know, that was special. Whatever I do for the rest of my enlistment, whatever I do for the rest of this deployment, seeing those kids have that glitter of hope was something that I will never forget. And that's kind of what, in other obviously scenarios, has led me to where I am today, working with kids. But that one moment right there is something that I'll never forget.
Yeah, so going right off that. So obviously you left the military and became a baseball coach. Is that experience kind of what made you want to work with kids and go down that route of, you know, coaching, you know, high schoolers through baseball?
Yeah. Luckily I was again, I had such great teachers in high school that always believed in me, and even when I didn't see it, and when I realized that I did have a lot of potential in me, I realized that maybe I can be that person as well. You know, I went through a couple hardships in the Marine Corps. I lost a really close leader of mine who had 2 beautiful kids, and you know, they're never going to have that father figure. And I feel like if I can, you know, provide some kind of father figure of being a role model, or whether that's coaching, whether that's being in the building, that's kind of my goal. You know, I want to give someone that positivity or that energy or that extra boost to get through their day when they have nothing left. So Coach Peck obviously reached out to me as soon as I got out of the military. I feel honored that I left a lasting impression to the baseball program, that I'm able to come back. And obviously both you guys know, being in the program, that the standards are so high that it's awesome that I was able to come back and do that.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, definitely. I think, I mean, I just remember freshman year that like you talked about some of your experiences, and it's clear to see how though like your passion, I think just to help, just to like just what you said, just to do what you can to make anyone's day brighter. And like seeing you now working in the building, I think it's really cool. I think both Grant and I know in the 4 years that we've been there, like the different people that we cycle through, like at the door, like every day. But there's definitely hasn't been not many people like you that truly make an effort to connect with kids. So I think that's really cool.
I appreciate that.
Like, I guess going off of that, do you have like outside of of work, coaching, I guess was probably a passion of yours. But outside of that, like what are some things that you're really passionate about today?
Oh man, obviously I have my dog, so obviously I hang out with him all the time. I was trying to see if he's back there right now. Competing, man, I love to compete. I think that's something that I saw in the Marine Corps was I didn't care who it was, where or when. Like I just want to compete, and if you beat me, hey, good job. But listen, I love it. I love it. So I love. I've been playing slow pitch softball for a while. Obviously, got to play in the Marine Corps, and that's kind of channeled over to here. But which has kind of kept me actually engaged into baseball because still playing and coaching. I get to still kind of hang out with you guys on the field and take some ground balls or hit the fungos or pitch a little bit, which I know you guys love competing against coaches. I mean, that's been a thing for forever. Is coach gets on the mound and everyone tries a little bit harder and everyone's focused a little bit more. So yeah, just competing is a big passion of mine. I love lifting. I love working out, going to Lifetime, shooting hoops, things like that. That kind of keeps me going. But right now I'm in school, so pretty busy, working at the school, coaching, and in school. Time gets a little bit lost here and there.
Yeah. So I remember, I think it was freshman year, like after practice, us three were talking. We ended up just talking for, I don't know, at least half an hour about just life in general and stuff like that. And we just went into like, life philosophy. So before we kind of get into just talking about life as a whole, which I know is something the three of us kind of enjoy talking about, obviously you've had amazing experiences that us as high schoolers just aren't old enough to have done, or just we haven't been around long enough. So do you have any like just advice you've, gathered through, or, the military or just life in general you might want to share with, any high schoolers listening to this podcast right now?
Yeah, I think, it's okay to, try to fit in, but at the same time, if you're trying to fit in, but you're not being yourself, then what kind of justice are you doing yourself? I think what I see a lot throughout the building is a lot of people just trying to, fit in.
Yeah.
And I wish I, at that time, and even me back in the day, I see it too, of just like being yourself, your true authentic self. And sometimes that means you got to like stand up and say something, or that means you got to stand up and speak for what you believe in. And I think more people should embrace that. I would love to see, more kindness in the world. I would love to see just everyone lifting each other up in a negative, we live in such a negative society that everyone wants everyone to fail. And I think if we had a lot more positivity and we had a lot more energy, and we had a lot more of, pushing people in the right direction, I think that's like the first start of, turning things around in a sense. So when I, talk to high school kids or I'm in the building, I always just try to say, hey, take a deep breath, control what you can control, because there's a lot of things you guys can't control right now. You guys can't control going to school every day. Like you have to go to school every day,
Yeah.
How are you going to choose? How are you going to spend that day? Are you going to spend it dreading it because you are forced to do it? Or are you going to kind of, go through the motions? Or are you going to try to make the best out of it? Because think about it. You guys were freshmen. We're talking about this. And now 4 years later, you guys are seniors planning for college. I mean, in a blink of an eye, it goes by so fast. So I would say live in the moment, enjoy the moment, take a deep breath, enjoy the football games, enjoy being with your friends, enjoy the classroom activities when they're fun. Because those are going to be the things that you remember when you go to college.
Yeah, just kind of adding off that, I do think that definitely is a problem, just kids kind of wanting to just conform to just society and try to fit in. I think that's probably just a bigger issue with the underclassmen, like just, freshmen and sophomore. They're just trying to figure stuff out. They don't want to kind of stand out. They just want to at least, have friends or just be a part of something. And I understand that because there's always a part of us that wants to just be, a part of that group, not being the outlier, not always just having someone to talk to, because when you're like in high school, you don't want to, just be on your own. You want to have people that you can talk to and be around. So, but I definitely think, me personally, as I've gotten older and become a junior and senior, I've really, I mean, obviously there's still a part of me that I don't want to just be alone and have no friends, but I think that's, general, everyone can agree with that. But, I've learned that I do things for myself. Like I pursue the things I'm passionate about. I'm not afraid to, let people know the things I'm interested in. And so I make sure that obviously, I try to fit in society, to some regard, but I don't let that interfere with the things I want to do. So,
Well, let me ask you this. Now,
okay.
if you are who you are and you are following your own passions,
Mhm.
don't you think that those passions are going to attract other people from those same passions that are going to bring those same friends into that group?
Yeah, definitely. So, I don't know if you know this, but a friend and I, we made a business club where we, obviously I'm interested in business. That's something I'm going to want to pursue in the future. So by making that club, that kind of helps, attract, people who have the same interests. So yeah, if you're being yourself, I mean, even if you think you're unique, you are unique to a certain degree, but there's people out there who have the same passions as you. So you're going to be able to find that group you fit into. So, never be a part of a group that, makes you feel like you're like, you don't belong or you don't deserve to be a part of something. So.
Yeah, love that. Love that last sentence, Grant.
Yeah, I just going off of that, I think we talked about it like in our first podcast of the year. Like, there's so much that I think, like, there's so much that we can all get involved in. Grant, you had an interest and you went out and you made a club out of it. And I think, like we talked about, I guess Coach J, you just talked about kids just trying to fit in, and to a certain extent, that's like Grant said, everyone wants to fit in, but if you have something that you're interested in, like just go figure it out, go start it, because we've talked about it before. I think you can always get like a sponsor for something that you're interested in, and I think we're so lucky to go to a school that fosters that kind of the environment that if you're interested in something, there's an outlet to go pursue that kind of thing. So I think we're really lucky as students. Grant, I know you said it's mostly the underclassmen, and it's understandable just because they haven't really been in the high school
Yeah.
environment yet. But yeah, I think it's really important that we are able to pursue those interests that I think everyone has something. I mean, Grant and I, we talked about wanting to do a podcast for a year, and then we were able to find that outlet through a news team. So I really think there is an outlet for every student to pursue what they're passionate about.
Yeah, I think that actually comes with like a lot of appreciation. I see it both in you guys that you guys really appreciate Prairie Ridge and what it offers, especially with this. You guys, when you guys go off to college or you have a counselor, et cetera, it's not like it is at Prairie Ridge. You're going to have classrooms that have hundreds of kids in them, and you're not going to get that 1 to 20 ratio that is very subject to helping you succeed. There's going to be a lot of things that you guys have to do on your own. And I think that you guys appreciating what PR does, I think that's huge because a lot of people don't have that appreciation.
Yeah. And like, yeah, I'm extremely grateful to go to PR. I know that like if I didn't go to PR and I went to some other school, I definitely would be a different person. I just think the resources that are provided through teachers and stuff is just, absolutely incredible and is not common. But also at the same time, I think people got to realize like they kind of have to create their own opportunities. Like the resources are obviously available a ton at PR, but even if you don't go to PR, if you go to a different school, the resources probably are still there in some capacity. So you just have to, have the initiative to go out there and actually create your own opportunity because like you said, being a part of the Marines, you can do like way more than you think you're capable of originally, especially if you're pushed to do so. So like if you want to do something, I mean, you can do it. Just go out there and you'd be surprised how willing people are to support your passions and try to make something come to fruition. So just go out there and try to make it happen because people are always willing to help you. So,
Yep. Yes, sir.
Yeah. I guess we kind of talked about it a little bit, but obviously it's clear that you're passionate about you talked about lifting people up and kindness, I guess. Like what I think there's a lot of ways just as a helping around the school, you're able to do that. But like on a broader scale, what would you say like some of your long-term life goals are? I know you said you're going to school right now. Like what are you looking to do long term?
Yeah, long term, hopefully getting into mental health and counseling. I have about 2 years left in this program. Originally the program I was doing was to be a high school history teacher, and knowing how competitive that field is, I kind of want to just do something different. And I realized maybe a year ago that I really wanted to pursue one-on-one counseling. And the best idea to do that is obviously, coaching at the school. I get to work a lot of you guys, and a lot of coaching is one-on-one, and I feel like I've been able to, excuse me, make an impact in that sense, to where if I can be in the school as well, doing one-on-one counseling, and whether that's at Prairie Ridge or anywhere else, I mean, that's a huge impact. I think changing one person's life is it's fulfilling.
Yeah.
Having that impact. And so hopefully end goal, get my degree and get into mental health and counseling. It's so important with mental health nowadays, and one-on-one counseling, instead of being in the big classrooms, being able to be in that role would be the end goal.
Yeah, I know. Definitely, I can definitely speak. You're a great guy. Like, I know, just as a coach, you've been able to help me personally grow. I don't know where I'd be, if you weren't like there as a freshman coach and, throughout my years. So you've definitely helped me a lot. And although coaching is slightly different because you're not just coaching one person at a time, there are those moments when you kind of just have those one-on-one, conversations or talks where you definitely can help people grow personally. So I definitely think you've been able to help me grow a lot. And I think that's a, great career choice for you and very selfless. So I applaud you for looking to go into that career. So
thank you, Grant. Thank you.
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So we talked about kind of your personal life goals, and Jonah and I, we're young, we're still trying to figure out life. And we're always kind of asking the big questions, like what is the meaning of life? Because we always kind of, it's so easy to get just stuck in thinking about like just about like materialistic things, looking for monetary gain, that kind of stuff. Like always that question comes that like life doesn't last forever, and you got to kind of make the most of it. So we're always kind of trying to like really understand what's important in life and like what makes it meaningful. So do you kind of have any insights on what you've learned might be like the most important things to focus on in life, or really like what the meaning of life overall is? I know that's kind of a big question, but
yeah. I am a big believer in purpose. I think every single person has their purpose in life, and I think it's finding that purpose. I think it's finding that finding what makes you get out of bed in the morning, because obviously no one wants to get out of bed early in the morning. We all want to sleep in, but what drives you to put your feet on the ground and truck along? I think the meaning of life for me is leaving a legacy. What am I going to leave behind that's always going to be remembered? How am I going to leave a lasting memory that will always be remembered? I always think of, people come and go in life, but what you say to them and how you make them feel and what they remember of you is always going to be remembered. 20 years down the road, a prior player may give the same life lesson that I gave to him, and now that's being passed down. How can you leave that lasting legacy? So I think for me personally, it just, and you guys see it, like just always bringing that energy of like trying to lift people up. That I think that's like what really gives me fulfillment. And not everyone is like that. Not everyone is going to get fulfillment out of being positive. We see it in the world nowadays where you have a lot of bad people, and they're just trying to make millions and millions of dollars and get by and be rich. And for me, it's more than that. I've seen the lowest of the lows being in the Marine Corps. I've seen highest of the highs working directly under generals who are making way over six figures just being in the military for 30 plus years, et cetera. I've seen how they run things. It's like, how can Mr. J, Coach J, Eric Jakubosky, how can he leave a lasting image in someone that will never be forgotten? Because everyone is connected in some way, somehow, some shape. If I'm going to a family party and someone knows someone and they know someone that is a student at the school, and they say, you know what, Jay has changed my life. you know what, that always comes back around. And I think that's something that, you know, I'm trying to shoot for, is to just change lives. So the meaning of life could be a lot of different things.
Yeah.
It could be whatever your grasp on reality is, you know. Life's short, make the best of it.
Mhm. Yeah. I think that's a solid answer. I
It's a very
think
good answer.
it's not like, yeah, just going off what you just said, it doesn't have to be super broad. I mean, that's something that everyone can do in no matter what their career path is, no matter where they're at in life. It's not hard to be like a good person. It's there's nothing difficult about being nice to someone that you like you said, like different people come and go. You're not gonna, like in high school 20 years down the line, I may only talk to 3 people that I'm friends with now, but I hope that all of my peers would have a lasting memory of the kind of person that I try to carry myself to be. And I think that goes for all people. It's really not hard to be just to be a good person. And it doesn't have to be a huge gesture or anything, but I think on all levels, everyone can live that way.
Yeah, I think once you guys realize that when you get older and you grow up into, you know, whatever you guys choose to do, you know, you're made up of your stories. You know, you're made up of your experiences, and that's the thing, is I always remember the stories with my really good friends of like the really positive good ones. You know, I always remember those good feelings, those orphanages, those, you know, the people, you know, with giving food and in Norway and things like that, just like little things like that. I remember the people that I was with, you know, and I think that's just, you know, the stories are make up who you are. And, you know, being able to share those and give back to that, I think is a part of life as well, you know, and not just keeping that with myself, but being able to get on a podcast and share those experiences.
Yeah, and kind of going off that, we kind of just talked about like how a lot of people have trouble kind of figuring out what like the meaning of life is and like what their right path is. But like also at the same time, I've realized that like how do I say this? Like a lot of like what you should be doing in life is like pretty common knowledge, but yet like it's very hard for people to actually carry out those things. Like we all know like it's good to, be respectful to your family and your friends and to, do your homework on time, keep in good shape, work out, like stick to your goals and overall just be a good person. But yet like we just see in society, it's so hard for, people to be able to like stick to those things and be able to consistently, do the things they know they're supposed to do. So like, do you like know why, or like maybe have any advice for people who like know the things they should be doing in life in terms of, taking good care of themselves, both physically, mentally, and like actually trying to pursue the things they're passionate about, but just kind of have a hard time, whether that's just sheer laziness or if it's other things impacting that progress?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think that has to do a lot with discipline. You know, it's something that we talked about earlier, and I know Coach Peck and I actually talked about this the other day of what's the difference between, you know, motivation and discipline. You know, you're not going to be motivated every day. You may have an end goal. You know, I want to be a counselor. I want to be, you know, but one day for school, I might be like, man, I don't want to do my homework. But if I have the discipline, knowing I have to get my homework done, knowing I have to do the right thing, knowing that I need to get that grade, well, then I'm going to get it done, you know? And I think what we're lacking right now in big time is that discipline. You know, it's easy to, do I do my homework? Do I do the right thing? Or do I pick up my phone and watch TikTok?
Yeah.
Do I scroll through Instagram? Do I scroll through Twitter? Do I look up something that actually interests me instead of doing my homework, or instead of going to the gym and working on my health, or instead of making the chicken and rice? No, I think I'm going to go get a Wendy's burger, or, you know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
easy to fall into that path. So advice for that is just, you know, what is the end goal, right? If you're trying to do a bodybuilding show, well, you can't be eating McDonald's.
Yeah.
If you're trying to get a straight A plus, you have to study. You can't be scrolling through TikTok for 4 hours. So I think taking it one day at a time, one test at a time, everything one day at a time, one at a time. Because as soon as you start looking towards the future, looking 10 years, 5 years, 3 years, that's when the anxiety starts. That's when you start getting freaked out. That's when you say you're behind. You're not really behind. You're just not there yet.
So would you like say good advice would be like, just make sure all of your day-to-day actions are like aligned with like your life goals, basically. Just like what you're doing right now is like aligned with like what you want to accomplish like later in life.
Absolutely. You know, let's look at just in any sense of, if as a coach, okay? A coach is supposed to uplift, it's supposed to help, it's supposed to benefit, it's supposed to technicality, right? Fixing a swing, throwing a ball, right? Now, if I'm teaching that and I'm teaching you how to be a good person, yet on the side, I'm not being a good person, well, then that doesn't line up.
Yeah.
You know, that's two different people in two different scenarios right there. You know, I think those true colors will always show. I think, you know, you are who you are. So if laziness, if the lack of drive or discipline, that will come to light, et cetera. You know, you see it in the New Year's with people trying to change those ways, right? How many New Year habits really stick? They're hard. It's hard, you know, it's hard because you are who you are, you love what you love, and it's so hard to break those habits.
Yeah. I think it's especially in high school, I think everyone struggles with that kind of thing. I'd like to think it's going to get easier because there is so much stress, especially like right now with college stuff. But I think that like that perspective can help a lot. Just the more of a one day at a time approach. I know I found myself in the past couple of months, like knowing like that November 1st deadline, and I just kept thinking, oh, I got time. I got time. I don't have to worry about it now. But then it rushes up on you super fast, and that happens with everything. It's not obviously that's most recent experience for me, but I know that happens in every situation, in every facet of life.
Absolutely. You know, looking ahead, we all do it, you know, but as soon as I sense myself doing it, I take a real long, deep cleansing breath, slow the situation down and be like, all right, I need to take one day at a time. Okay. Just get to tomorrow.
Yeah. And I also do think it's important to remember that like no one's perfect. Like, although that is the goal, to make sure all your actions are pretty much perfectly aligned with like who you want to become as a person. You know, everyone makes mistakes. You're gonna have those days or those moments where you fail. You know, you might like do something that you probably shouldn't be doing, and that's okay. I think it's good to kind of like remind ourselves we're not gonna be perfect, but you just got to make sure that the majority of what you're doing is aligned with what you want to become in life. So I think a problem would be like if your distractions or your shortcomings are like actively deterring you from being able to accomplish those things, because I'd say every day there's things I wish, I wish I probably should have done this, I probably could have done a little more, and that's okay, that's natural. But if those things are actually kind of hurting your growth a lot, and kind of hindering you from being able to accomplish those things, that's the problem. Because we can all do more every single day, we can always do more, but we're human. That's not necessarily realistic. So just make sure your actions, you're pushing yourself in the right direction for the most part every single day. So
the best learning technique is failing.
Yeah.
That's the number one. I've seen it twice now in the building. Someone may came up to me and they're hurting, and then you could tell it and you could see it in their face. I just failed a test. Okay, well, did you study? No. Well, how does it feel? Not great. Okay, well,
there you go.
Get a retake. Yes, and then some. Obviously, you need to do your work to be able to get a retake. Now it's a learning experience of failing. If you're on the mound, you give up a 4-run home run for a walk-off and you're up 3. Well, guess what? next time you're probably not going to throw that pitch in that spot again, right?
You better not.
It's all, everything is a learning experience, and we'll tell you that, especially here, it's okay to fail.
Yeah.
It's okay to fail. That's the best thing about learning.
Yeah. I also think that's a great thing that kids need to understand now. I think if you wait to realize that kind of thing, it can really hurt you down the road. But having that perspective now, I think it's something I've learned a lot in the past year. I mean, I struggled academically a lot in the past year. I know a lot of kids were in the same boat. But having that perspective, like from last year to this year, I think it's helped a lot just to realize that you can fall behind, you can struggle, and that's okay. But how you bounce back is what's gonna show. That's what's gonna really matter in the long run.
Yeah, like I often like tell myself, like, you are who you are. I think you shouldn't. I know it's hard to measure, like, how much you can optimize yourself and your abilities, but I think like a good way to measure how successful you are in life is like how close you came to being able to optimize like what you can do as a person. Never compare yourself to other people, because there's other people who have different circumstances and different environments that may allow them to, pursue or to achieve more. But just focus on yourself and kind of have this like intrinsic understanding if you like think you're accomplishing as much as you can, because you'll often find that, just like the Marines, when they push you, you realize you can do so much more than you think you can. So just try to optimize yourself. Just try to push yourself as much as possible, because, if you're tired, whatever, you only have one life. You can sleep when you're dead. So just just keep going. You only have one life. It's a blink of an eye in the grand scheme of things. So you just got to make it count.
It's that feeling. It's that feeling of success, of that being proud of finishing that task, whatever it is. Like, like I said, getting your Eagle Globe and Anchor and becoming a Marine for the first time, there'll never be a feeling like that of being proud. So in the same sense for you guys, graduating right now, that's the big step. Like, you're not going to have a feeling of graduating high school because you're never going to graduate high school again.
Mm-hmm.
So, getting to that and feeling that, and feeling that sense of you finished that hard task, even when you think you couldn't, is going to be life changing.
Just doing what you're capable of to the best of your ability, and like when you fall behind, it's just the end goal is what you got to focus on, and that's why I think that one day at a time thing that you said, so actually what I wrote one of my college essays on is just taking life one day at a time, because in the grand scheme of things, like the end goal matters, but you're never going to get there if you don't just focus on what you got to do day in and day out.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I think just some of my closing thoughts. We kind of talked about, Coach Shay, how, one of your, life goals is to like leave a lasting legacy that people can kind of remember, carry out lessons to future generations. I completely agree with that and respect that. But also at the same time, I like think about the fact that like, when you're gone, no matter how memorable of a person you are, like no matter how famous you were or how rich you were, at some point you will be forgotten, whether that's like 100 years or 1,000 years. So I think that's kind of like a refreshing feeling, that to just like step back and realize that like, okay, like life is like temporary, and I can do all I want to please other people, but at the end of the day, I will eventually be forgotten. So I may as well like just live my life for myself and my family, and just getting fulfillment through those means. Because if you're living your life solely just to be remembered by other people, obviously that can be good if if you want to help people improve their lives. But if you just want to become famous just so people can read you in some history book, I mean, that's not going to benefit you, because, even in 10,000 years, no one's going to be talking about Einstein anymore. Or if they are, maybe, it's in some boring, history class. So, live your life for yourself, because, at some point you will be forgotten, no matter how influential of a person you were. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Jonah, you got any closing thoughts before we let Jay kind of say something he wants to kind of, give us to take away?
Honestly, like we've had these discussions for like we said the past 4 years, but I don't know, definitely what you said about the difference between discipline and motivation. I think that's something everyone can have that's my big takeaway, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. With that, Coach Jay, do you have anything that you'd like to leave us with and our listeners with?
Well, I really appreciate you guys having me. First and foremost, you guys are doing an amazing thing. This podcast is pretty special. Whether you see the bigger picture in it or not, just you guys starting this, I think is such an amazing thing, with podcasts becoming such a huge ordeal. You guys are running and doing an awesome job. So
Thank you.
Again, first and foremost, thank you guys for having me. I feel honored to be a part of this. Seeing you guys grow up from freshmen to being seniors now and doing this, I don't think you guys truly understand the sense of like pride or how proud I am of both you guys and everyone else that I had. You guys being my first ever group. That's again something that I'll never forget. How you guys, brought me in, how you guys were as students, how you guys were as people. I think again that leaves that lasting legacy of what you could say of what you guys were as freshmen to what you guys now are as seniors. So everything goes in a blink of an eye, and everything goes by really fast. But enjoy the moment while you're in, and again, the relationships and the connections and the things that the people that you meet are going to shape who you are and what you do in life. And, how do you want to shape those? Do you want to be positive or do you want to be negative? So I always say, be positive and, have good energy, and good things will happen to you.
That's awesome. Well, Coach Jay, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's been really fun. It's been a pleasure. And this is Etc. signing off. See you guys on the next one.
Thanks, Coach.